I'm on my way, freedom land. I'm on my way, what a freedom land. I'm on my way, freedom land.
I should have known the Freedom Rider story my entire life, but I did not, as most people don't, because civil rights history is not of the utmost importance in school systems, unfortunately.
I'm on my way, great God Almighty, I'm on my way.
The Freedom Rider's story, that is the Parchman Hour, came about because in the research we found that each night at Parchman they would have somewhat of a variety show. It was mostly the women that would do it. The men were busy preaching and doing a lot of things like that, but it was mostly the women that would come up with this variety show, and they would sing songs or tell jokes, or some would preach. The original production of the Parchman Hour, that is the student workshop, the idea there was to create a piece that could not only inspire young college students, but also be carried on into Mississippi for the 50th anniversary, that is the 50th anniversary of the Freedom Riders. We took this play from North Carolina down to Mississippi twice. We even paid visit to Parchman. We did not perform at Parchman, but we did take a look at the cells that the Freedom Riders were housed in, which is death row, and that is, at least the African American males were housed in death row. And at the very end of the cell block that they were kept on is an electric chair, and it's a very scary reminder of how close each and every one of them came to death.
Ain't gonna let no jailhouse load turn me round, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let no jailhouse turn me round. Keep on a walking, keep on a talking, marching up to freedom land.
I love working with the designers that I'm working with, because they are intuitive. They have not only seen the play as a student production, but they know the script backwards and forwards to understand the concept, and that is that memory is a funny thing.
And I really began to think about the Parchman Hour and the idea of the bus as a broader metaphor, really starting with Rosa Parks and her getting on the bus in a very different way than people were allowed to. The bus that took the people into Mississippi, the burning bus at Anniston, the idea of going for the ride, the trips that people had to take on buses that African Americans had to take, that were guided by the Green Book that told them places that were safe for them to stay in America. And the whole idea of transportation and movement, and even to the point of modern day busing, became something that became a through line. So the idea of actually putting a real bus on stage didn't come until a little bit later, when I actually thought, why not? You know, why not actually have a bus on stage? There it is, a real bus. We just went and got it. We cut it up. We found a bus that's very similar to several of the buses that were used. Again, I think people have a tendency to look at the Anniston bus and say, you know, oh, that was the one bus. There were many, many buses that did many, many things. And the bus provides a kind of what we would call an inner below for the play. It provides a place for actors to go and do scenes, although very few scenes are done deep in the bus. That's where the band will be. That's where the music comes from. A lot of us experience the civil rights movement through the music. That's coming from the back of the bus, and I think that's appropriate. Is it musically the best? Probably not, but I think the artistic statement that we're going to get from music emanating from the bus is worth it.
music was very important in the civil rights movement because it was able to communicate to the individuals what the cause really was. And it also lightened the spirit of it all, even though it was a very intense moment. Is used in the Parchman Hour to support the dialogue. This is not a musical, and that's what people sometimes are a little confused. It's music in a play, and the music is used to support the dialogue in the play. For example, the actors make their way onto the stage with the first song, "On My Way." And that sets the precedence for the entire play because they are on their way, on their mission, traveling on the buses for their cause of to break segregation.
Come go with me, I'm on my way. Great God Almighty, I'm on my way. I asked my sister, to go with me, come go with me.
The uniforms themselves were an interesting challenge for us to work on in the costume shop because there's a lot of research out there as to what the uniforms look like. We discovered you can buy brand new black and white striped prison uniforms, but in order to age them to the point that they would look like they were being worn by actual Parchman inmates who've been there for, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years of their lives, was going to take quite a lot of effort, and we thought maybe there's a way to do this quicker yet more authentic looking. We thought, well, what if we could just print the fabric to look like it's really old, distressed, dirty, striped fabric? After we get the fabric in, our draper on this show is going to cut out the fabric and stitch them together, and then our crafts artisan is going to do some further work on making them look old and broken down.
I'm about to pre-dye the fabric that we're using for the prison uniforms that we got printed from spoon flour, and then I washed last night, and I have it soaking in here right now. So this is what it looks like after I've washed it, but before I've dyed it. And it's dingy gray stripes and black stripes on a white cotton twill. Basically what we're doing is often called the dinge bath. So I look a bit of the mad scientist right now. And this is 6 yards of fabric and is going into that giant dye vat right here. And then we stir it every once in a while, wait 20 minutes, pull it out, give it a wash, and it's done.
There are very particular challenges in the case of this show with not only are we dealing with a piece of documentary theater where we have real characters, we have lots and lots of photographs of what they looked like doing this protest action. There's quite a bit of media research of these people who are characters in the play and are real folks. John Lewis is a congressman right now. When you read about the inspirations for this movement and the folks who were in charge of sort of directing it, the Coalition for Racial Equality and the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, that when they conceived of the idea of the Freedom Rides, they sort of put into place a training program, not only in techniques of nonviolence, of like, how do you not defend yourself if someone's going to beat you up for participating in this action, but also they were taking into account the fact that they hoped they were going to get a lot of media coverage and that they were going to be visual representatives of this movement. And as a result, part of the training was how to dress. People wore shorts and a t-shirt in the South in 1961, but the Freedom Riders organizers made a conscious choice to decide that their folks on the buses were going to dress very professionally. They were going to present themselves as extremely serious, professional, upstanding young people, not, folks who could be written off as reactionaries or revolutionaries.
All those students that put their bodies on on the line for freedom are completely reflected in those students that are now sitting in Wall Street, or those students that sat in the Wisconsin Capitol. They're a direct reflection of what those students did in 1961 and in 1962 and throughout the Civil Rights Movement. That is the legacy of freedom riders. Individuals that see a wrong, that see injustice in this country and see no alternative but to make it right.
Paul and Silas bound in jail, had no money for to go their bail. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Paul and Silas began to shout. Doors popped open and all walked out. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Well, the only chains we can stand are the chains of hand in hand. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Got my hand on the freedom plow. Wouldn't take nothing from my journey now. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold